Hey everybody, I wanted to recount to you a story that happened probably in the past 3 weeks. I don't know exactly when I'm going to post this video, but it's recent. Right now it's the beginning of May. This might be of interest especially to newer firearms instructors, and probably this is old news for very experienced firearms instructors, but I had a recruit on the range and he was struggling like really badly. And there were some anticipation issues, which seems to be the burden or plague of a lot of new shooters, but there was something else going on that was quite indefinable. And I worked with him, two other instructors worked with him, maybe even three, probably in addition to what we normally do for our students, probably an additional 3 hours of work. And I wasn't confident that he was going to be able to pass on qual day. He had not passed one practice qualification. So qual day shows up and he shoots, I think, 70 percentile, like passing on the first qual. So miracle of miracles, we were like, okay, let's see what happens on the second one. On his second qual, 82%. The highest he had scored on that course of fire previously, like I said, was in the 50s. So we were astounded. I actually accused him at the end of the day of sandbagging or holding out on me. And I think the final qual, still pretty good, not great, but okay. And he was very nonchalant about it. He didn't really go into it, but he kind of just shook his head like, no, I was not holding out on you. The next day, he confessed to me that over the weekend, he had a conversation with another recruit. And that other recruit shared with him the technique of putting the gun in front of your dominant eye. And he went to the range on his own, practiced that, came back and passed. Now, there's a bunch of questions that I'm sure you're going, well, Jay, why didn't you teach him about putting a gun in front of the dominant eye? Because that's kind of how it's supposed to be done. The fact of the matter is that it had been done multiple times. Like, I had taught him that. His instructor had taught him that. We had gone over eye dominance at least 2 more times. But that led me to realize that our conveyance of it, the way we presented it to him, didn't work. It didn't register. It didn't connect for whatever reason. And so it just never got there. I don't know what he was doing that was not putting his gun in front of his dominant eye. I'm assuming it was probably putting it somewhere in between, like in the middle of the bridge of his nose, and trying to dedupe those two images to get an accurate hit, which, in retrospect is not surprising that his accuracy would suffer, especially at distance. But just the fact that one of his colleagues told it to him in whatever language the colleague did was enough to get him to then understand, oh, we use our dominant eye. So that led me to at least one conclusion, maybe a few, but one that was the big one, is that if I have a shooter that is completely struggling and I cannot identify the one issue that is causing them to struggle and focus on that, then maybe I'm just going to start from the beginning, like the foundations, the fundamentals, and then our process from the beginning, like step by step. Because it's evident to me that if it's that bad, that some step or some fundamental didn't connect. They didn't really understand the concept. It might have been told to them, it might have been demonstrated to them, but it didn't really get there to a way or manner that made them understand it internally to themselves. Now, I will say this, in terms of eye dominance, everybody either loves or hates optics-equipped pistols, but I will tell you that I think that one of the things an optics-equipped pistol does is kind of gets rid of most of the eye dominance discussions. Whether you use dominant eye or non-dominant eye, everybody understands conceptually I need to see a dot in the middle of that display or somewhere in that display. And so that is not as big a stretch. I have seen time and again, and I've written about it in other venues, that iron sights do not present the same to everybody, and conceptually they don't make sense in the same way to everybody. And so I've had to describe how to use iron sights in more than one manner. Side note, the SIRT pistol. I don't love it for practice. A lot of people do. I'm not the biggest fan of it, especially for a newer shooter, because I feel like it teaches them to look downrange and not at the sighting system, which for irons you must do. But I think it's an excellent diagnostic tool for an instructor, because if somebody's doing things and they're completely out to lunch and you're trying to figure out exactly what it is they're doing, is it a sighting issue, is it a trigger issue? There are many ways to diagnose it, but one that I've found to be super helpful is that SIRT pistol. I understand that there's a cost associated with it, anywhere from $200 to $500, depending on the model that you get. And so, you know, for a casual shooter or a very casual instructor, I don't know that it's worth it. But for somebody who instructs a lot of people, I think it's worth its weight in gold. Some other things that may be of use to you: dry fire magazines and Mantis X. I'll probably do another video on those at some point. I think those are spectacular aids in and of themselves. But like I said, from a purely diagnostic tool, SIRT pistol is excellent. But let me back up to the very beginning, and the whole point of this video is, if you have a student that is struggling, just completely struggling, it might yield great results to just go back to the very beginning. Here's how you stand, here's how you hold the gun, here's how you use the sights. What's your dominant eye? Do you know what your dominant eye is? How do we find out what our dominant eye is? And then reinforce it. Go from there. If I had done that, maybe we would have saved that guy some anguish prior to his qualification. Now, like I said, all's well that ends well. Success is the best deodorant, I think has been said many times. You know, we succeeded. In fact, everybody this session passed. The race for top shooter was incredibly tight. Like, I had a lot of really good shooters and saw a lot of improvement throughout. But I feel like we're only as good as our worst, right? Like our lowest quality result is kind of where we're at. You know, I can always point to the student that shot 100 percentile, burned down a bunch of drills, did really good on bullseyes, and say that's my measure of success. But what about the guy who finished last? The guy who struggled to pass, who really didn't get it? In a lot of ways, that's my measure of success. Like, what did I do with that guy? So, guys, I don't know if this has been helpful or not. Hopefully it has. Just a quick talk. Guys, take care. Stay safe. As always, I appreciate any likes, comments, any comment that you leave where you ask a question. I will do my level best to answer. And share with your friends. I always appreciate that. Subscriber base is growing slowly, but it's growing. Guys, take care. Thanks for listening.
Get him, Jay.